Hello everyone. So today we're going to be talking about a character who could potentially keep up with even the Hulk and routinely messes up the X-Men. And of course, we're talking about Nimrod. Now, Nimrod is a mutant hunting sentinel from an alternative future and was created by the Sentinels that were ruling that particular timeline. Now, how this happens is when Rachel Summers travels backwards in time to the present, he follows Rachel. And although not capable of time travel per se by himself, he was transported back in time by Doctor Strange and Magic, using their powers to change time to prevent Colin Gath's occupation of New York. Thus, Nimrod saves the life of construction worker Jamie Rodriguez by slaying a mugger, which happens to be Kulan Gath's destined host, who at that time would have otherwise killed Rodriguez. In gratitude, Rodriguez offers Nimrod a job and a home with his family, not realizing who or what the shape-shifting Sentinel truly is. Now, Nimrods are unique Sentinels that are from an alternate future, from the universe of Earth 811, who traveled to the past to Earth 616 and became a reoccurring opponent to the X-Men as well as their allies. The 616 mainstream version was created by Orchis and is more powerful than the previous versions. Now, they serve as the secondary antagonist in the Days of Future Past storyline, as well as the Krakoa era of X-Men. Now, Nimrod's its existence is to hunt down and exterminate all mutants in the future, just like the Sentinels of the modern era. However, they are much smaller than the current Sentinels, which tend to be large and fairly clumsy type constructs. They almost come off like Transformers or some type of Jaeger. Now, despite them having a smaller frame, Nimrods are much more advanced than their larger cousins and are capable of fighting the entire X-Men group by themselves. Now, the first appearance of this character is the Uncanny X-Men number 191 of March 1985, and the creator of this character is Chris Claremont and John Romita Jr. Now, after gathering information about the timeline in which he finds himself, Nimrod eventually changes his prime directive from the extermination of all mutants, having then determined that such widespread destruction isn't really necessary, to only exterminate the mutants that were regarded as outlaws by the government. Really, at that time, meant the X-Men. Now, he fights the Juggernaut and he hunts down Summers and the X-Men, but is defeated by Rogue when Rogue decides to absorb the mutant powers of Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde, and Colossus combined. Now, based on a plan that Kitty conceives before losing her consciousness, Rogue uses Nightcrawler's teleportation to teleport part of Nimrod's body away, but with Rogue and Colossus' combined invulnerability protecting Rogue from the resulting physical strain in a manner Nightcrawler would not have been able to handle. Now, sometime after this, Nimrod garners a reputation with the public of New York City as a heroic vigilante, assuming he is simply a man in powered armor. He also adopts the more human personality of Nicholas Hunter as part of a cover alias as a construction worker. Now, when Nimrod comes across a piece of the gigantic Sentinel master mold while working on a construction site, his programming is immediately co-opted. Master Mold merges with Nimrod, using its systems to rebuild Nimrod in its own image. The X-Men are initially hard-pressed to defeat the reborn Master Mold, but Nimrod comes to their aid, claiming he has evolved and no longer views them or mutants as any type of threat. Now, Nimrod asserts enough control over Master Mold to render it immobile, and even convinces it that it has become a mutant as well. Thus, to fulfill its prime directive to exterminate all mutants, it must self-destruct. The remains of both bots are pushed through the Siege Perilous, which is a mystical gateway that causes all who pass through it to be reborn with new bodies. Although the exact moment isn't quite clear, Nimrod and Master Mold are merged into the being called Bastion, a man who has absolutely no memory of his former existence. Now, eventually, Reverend William Stryker later finds a damaged Nimrod as it enters the Marvel timeline from an alternate one. Immobilized, Stryker secretly uses Nimrod's memories to give him the overall appearance of precognition to his followers and also help plan an attack on the X-Men and other mutants. But Nimrod actually alters his memories to facilitate his own escape. Now, eventually, Nimrod goes searching for Forge, whom it believes is its creator. Nimrod believes Forge can repair its damaged body, but Forge instead transfers Nimrod's programming into a new chassis which Forge can control. Believing Forge to be in danger, the new X-Men travel to his workshop to help him. This eventually leads to Nimrod gaining control over his body and attacking Forge and the new X-Men. Nimrod is defeated when Surge overloads Nimrod's temporal unit, blasting Nimrod out of the time stream. Nimrod survives, however, and travels back in time to March 1985, where the events involving Jamie Rodriguez and Kalan Gath's amulet play out exactly as they had originally done, with its memory corrupted, resulting in its existence in the true timeline, with Rachel's history erased, becoming a temporal paradox. Now, in the Dawn of X timeline, at the behest of Xavier and Magneto, Mystique returns to a final desperate mission on the Orchis Forge to detonate a mini black hole bomb designed by Forge capable of annihilating the entire station. Her mission coincides with Dr. Gregor preparing to resurrect her husband, Captain Erasmus Mendel, who was killed in the original Orchis raid. Executing Mystique through the entrance of her Krakoa escape portal, the fearsome Sentinel announces his existence as, quote, Nimrod the Hunter to the X-Men, who have failed once again in their attempt to destroy Orchis, vowing to hunt down and unalive all mutants. Now, as far as powers and abilities with Nimrod goes, Nimrod is the most advanced form of Sentinel robot. Nimrod can convert his outward appearance to resemble that of an ordinary human being. You could be just standing right there next to a person talking to him, and that could be a Nimrod. Now, Nimrod can also reconstruct himself as to make improvements to its robotic form and internal systems that will make him a more formidable opponent. Even when smashed to pieces, Nimrod can reintegrate the portions of his body to become whole once again. He's basically a T-1000 on steroids. Apparently, Nimrod's electric consciousness can somehow exist independently of his physical body. Physically, Nimrod is categorized in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe as possessing Class 100 strength, all because Nimrod could engage the Juggernaut in hand-to-hand combat. Now, Nimrod contains highly advanced computer systems as well as scanning devices that make it quite possible for him to determine whether a human being is a superhuman or not. If they are, he can determine the nature of the superhuman abilities, what type they actually have. Like present-day Sentinels, Nimrod can draw upon devices and systems within its robotic body to cope with or neutralize an opponent's superhuman power once he has determined the nature of that power. Nimrod is capable of projecting energy blasts, magnetic energy to levitate material, create force fields, can teleport through time, and Nimrod has somewhat of a weakness for elemental attacks such as lightning or extreme cold. Anyway, this is what we know on the awesome character Nimrod. We really enjoy this character as it is one of the most effective weapons thus far that we've seen, against any X-Men, mutant, etc. These characters that we saw in the Days of Future Past live action movie, they used the Nimrod characteristics and put them on the then Sentinels. Either way, we love the character. We want to see more of him. We think this character has definitely earned its spot among some of the X-Men's most hated villain type characters. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful night, a good morning, a great evening, whichever. Please like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Go to the comment section, write down a character maybe that you would like to see on this channel, and we'll see if we can't make it happen. As always, Excelsior.